She said it so casually that it didn't even register at first. We were sitting across from each other at the kitchen table, her scrolling on her phone, me halfway through a cold cup of coffee, when she looked up and said, "I think I'm just bored of you." The words hung there, sharp and heavy. My first instinct was to laugh, to assume she was joking. But her expression stayed flat, eyes distant, voice stripped of emotion. She wasn't teasing. She meant it. Something inside me cracked. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet split. The kind you don't notice until everything starts to leak through. Bored. I repeated, forcing the word out slowly, as if saying it might somehow change what it meant. She nodded, almost apologetically. "I don't know, Luke. Everything feels predictable. You mean this house. I just don't feel anything exciting anymore." I stared at her. The woman I'd spent 8 years building a life with now sounded like she was describing an outdated app she was ready to uninstall. "What do you want me to say to that?" I asked. "I don't know," she whispered. "Maybe nothing." That's the moment I realized boredom can be deadlier than hate. At least hate still means you care. For days afterward, her words echoed in my head. "Bored of you." Like I was a routine she'd outgrown. I tried to shrug it off, to tell myself every relationship hits rough patches. Maybe she was just restless, stressed, confused. But something had changed. The way she moved around me. The way her eyes drifted when I spoke. The phone she now kept face down. The late nights at work that always came with vague explanations. It wasn't paranoia, it was pattern recognition. Still, I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I started paying attention. She had a new perfume. Expensive. Not something she'd buy without a reason. There were new clothes too, more revealing, sharper. The kind that made her look like someone else entirely. And then there was her smile. The one she no longer wore at home. One Friday night, she told me she was meeting her coworkers for dinner. I asked if I could join. She hesitated, then smiled thinly. "It's just a work thing, Luke. You'd be bored." The irony almost made me laugh. After she left, I sat there for a long time, staring at the front door. Something in me had snapped into quiet determination. Not anger, not yet, but the need to know. An hour later, I got in my car. It didn't take long to find her. She wasn't hard to track. Same restaurant she'd gone to last month, same parking spot. I sat in the back corner, half hidden by the dim lighting and noise. She wasn't alone. Across from her sat a man, tall, clean-cut, confident. He leaned in close, smiling, saying something that made her laugh in a way I hadn't heard in years. Her hand brushed his when she reached for her glass. She didn't pull it back. I watched for a while, not out of masochism but clarity. Every suspicion, every doubt. It all made sense now. When they finally left, I didn't follow them. I didn't need to. I already knew how this story ended. That night, she came home just after midnight. Her cheeks were flushed, her eyes brighter than they'd been in weeks. She looked alive. "Good dinner?" I asked quietly from the couch. She jumped, startled. "You're still up?" I nodded. "Yeah. Hard to sleep." She smiled faintly, her voice soft. "You worry too much." I watched her walk down the hallway, her reflection flickering in the mirror. The person looking back wasn't the woman I married. Something inside me shifted, not toward rage but resolve. If she was bored of me, I'd make sure she'd never forget the moment that boredom ended. Over the next week, I planned it carefully. Not revenge, not violence, but a reckoning. I withdrew half our savings, packed her things neatly into boxes, and rented an apartment across town under my name alone. I called a lawyer, arranged the paperwork, and moved out quietly while she was at work. On her dresser, I left a letter. Just a single line: "You said you were bored. Let's see how life feels without me in it." Then I turned off my phone and disappeared from her world. The first few days were surreal. Silence has a way of magnifying everything. The hum of the refrigerator, the tick of the clock, the absence of her voice. For years, my life had revolved around keeping us steady. Now there was only stillness. But with every passing day, that stillness started to feel like peace. I started going on runs again, cooked for myself, reconnected with friends I'd lost touch with because of her. Every step away from her was a step back toward myself. Then a week later she found me. It was late afternoon. I was at a cafe downtown reading when I saw her through the glass. Her eyes were red, her expression hollow. She looked smaller somehow. Luke, she said, her voice breaking. Please, can we talk? I gestured for her to sit. She did, trembling slightly. I came home and you were just gone, she said. No note, no call, nothing. There was a note, I said quietly. Her eyes filled with tears. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to cheat, I said. She froze, the color draining from her face. So you know. I know enough, I said. I saw you with him. Tears slid down her cheeks. It wasn't serious, Luke. It was just a mistake. I was lost. You said you were bored, I reminded her. I gave you something new to feel. She stared at me, realizing I wasn't angry anymore. And that somehow was worse. Weeks passed. She called, texted, left messages that ranged from apology to anger to pleading. I didn't answer. The last one came a month later. I can't believe you just walked away. You were supposed to fight for me. I read it once, then deleted it. She didn't understand. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do isn't to fight, but to stop. To let the silence speak for you. Months later, I heard through a mutual friend that things hadn't worked out with the man she left me for. Apparently he got bored too. Karma, I thought, has an impeccable sense of timing. But I didn't celebrate. I just felt calm. Because the truth is, she was right about one thing. I wasn't exciting. I was consistent. Honest. Loyal. Qualities that don't sparkle until they're gone. And now when I think of her, I don't feel anger or sadness. Just clarity. She said she was bored of me. So I gave her what she wanted, an ending. And the move I made that night? It wasn't walking away from her. It was finally walking back to myself.